What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here with Dilly Vanilli and Kevole, and also a new guy. Not sure, depending on how long you've been around the Bottom Line View, you may have seen him on a wrestling video or two back in the day, but he has returned here for some NFL takes, NFL's full season predictions. It's Mike Beck. What's going on, Mike?
Not much. How's it going? How's it going, guys?
Great. So, Mike, maybe give us a little blurb on your fandom for the NFL and who's your favorite team, favorite player, that sort of thing.
Been a fan of professional football for as long as I can remember. Probably going back to really grade 3 with the boys on the grass field at Hazel Trembath Elementary School, just cracking heads with no pads and giving ourselves CTE from a young age. Well, clearly, I'm a very big Steelers fan, and there may be some biases throughout this, but I am a believer that they are a good team. And I guess my favorite player right now is going to be Antonio Brown. He's one of the best receivers in football, if not the best receiver. I just, much like Mitch, I'm going into broadcast journalism for school with pretty similar goals. Hopefully one day we could have like our own radio show in the province. That'd be pretty dope. Something like that. But I guess we'll just see where it goes. It's good to be back. It's good to be back.
All right, so Steelers fan. So a different take here on the Bottom Line View. Usually we're very against the Steelers. Usually that's the way it goes. And it's not even me, Mike. It's actually Kevole, as you'll see in this video.
Oh.
But we'll get into that. These are our full season predictions. Let's start off with the division winners and the wild card teams. We'll start in the AFC conference. If you guys have watched our team previews, if you haven't, go check out the playlist. 32 teams. We talked about every single team, what their record was going to be, in depth. Lots of time put into those videos, so go check those out. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on this right now, but we're just going to go over who's going to make the playoffs. So starting off with Dylan, give me your 6 teams in the AFC, your 1 through 6 in the AFC. Who is it going to be?
Seed in the AFC is the Jacksonville Jaguars. The defense is going to be great. All questions lead to Blake Bortles, though. I still think they'll be pretty dominant all the way through. They'll get the first round bye, of course. Second seed is the Steelers. They still got great talent on the offense. My question is a little bit about that defense and can they stop the bigger teams in the AFC and the NFC, but they'll still get the second seed because they're just really talented. Third seed, I have the New England Patriots. I think they're going to take just one step back, 12-4, though it's still a pretty good record. All concerns lead to me for the receivers. 4 seed is the Chargers. Very high on the Chargers. I've talked about them like 6 million times on this channel, so you all know how I feel about the Chargers. All the things are leading to is can they be healthy? Don't get injured. 5 seed is the Texans. Really like what the offense is capable of, and I think they'll get a wild card because the AFC South is going to be difficult with the Jaguars. And 6 seed is the Oakland Raiders. I have a lot of confidence in John Gruden in the new system.
Kevole.
There you go.
My AFC number 1 seed is, like Dylan, the Jacksonville Jaguars. The number 2 seed is the New England Patriots. The number 3 seed is the Kansas City Chiefs. The number 4 seed is the Pittsburgh Steelers. The number 5 seed is the Los Angeles Chargers. We're going to have a fight, I know it. Is the Los Angeles Chargers. And the number 6 seed, I'm not the most confident in. I've been flipping. I almost flipped again. But I'm going to stick with the Tennessee Titans only because I'm still concerned about all these Texans coming back from injury. It's a lot to expect. So I do have the Tennessee Titans as the 6th seed.
We'll leave Mike for last because his picks are completely original and new, so nobody knows what they are. So I'll go next. Number 1 seed in the AFC is the New England Patriots. Number 2 seed is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Number 3 seed is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Number 4 seed is the LA Chargers. Number 5 seed is going to be the Houston Texans, like Dylan. And number 6, I swapped. I originally did have the Raiders at 9-7, but I swapped it to the Baltimore Ravens at 9-7. So that's going to be my 6th seed.
I did think about the Ravens. I was there.
I've been, to kind of put that out there, I've been very impressed with their offseason, the way Joe Flacco looks, their new offensive weapons, and their defense was already strong, and they have a great coach. So just putting that into the conversation. Then we go to Mike. What are his picks going to be?
Well, for starters, just comment on Dilly having the Raiders as the 6th team. I actually don't have a lot of confidence in the Raiders. John Gruden coming back, you don't see many coaches coming back and it being successful right away with such a long turnover. I think it might take a year for them to really get it together. I could see this team being 500 or even just below it at 7-9 or even 6-10. Like, I don't really have that much confidence in the Raiders. But with that said, jumping into my picks, I'm obviously going to lean towards my bias. I do follow the Steelers a lot, but I do think this team is turning a leaf. Their tackling will improve with Morgan Burnett over Mike Mitchell and flipping the safeties, letting Sean Davis move to his original spot. So I do think their defense will be better, and their schedule is pretty weak. So I do have the Steelers at 1. Then I have the New England Patriots at 2. I see them losing some offensive talent through injury, suspension, and through free agency. Moving on to the Jags, again, one of the best teams in football, but I do think their offense got worse, and with Blake Bortles at quarterback, I'm not confident whatsoever, especially losing Marquise Lee. You got to score points to win a game. Like, I don't care what you say, you cannot win a game 7-3 in the NFL, in today's NFL. 4, we got the Chargers. Big fan of this team as well. I think the Chargers could surprise some teams. They could really take a shot in the playoffs. They could make a run at things, which I don't think most people are really expecting. Amazing pass rush, great offense. Number 5, I have the Texans. I just think the way they were firing together with Deshaun Watson last year, and like keep in mind the amount of injuries they had at defense at that point already, they could be one of the deadliest teams. They could even possibly knock the Jags out of that top seed in that division, which would blow some people away, but they are pretty damn good. And then 6, I got the Vrabel-led Tennessee Titans. I don't really see the bottom end of the AFC talent being as high as it is in the NFC, but this team could make some surprising strides, but I don't really see them making a far playoff push by any means.
All right, so there you go. Mike's picks. The Steelers, not unsurprisingly, at the number 1 seed. You got the Patriots at number 2. The 3 seeds, Jacksonville. 4 seeds, LA. 5 seed is the Texans, and 6 seed is the Titans. Correct?
If the Steelers weren't as good as I think they are, I wouldn't put them at 1. But I do think they are a team that could do it this year. If they stay healthy, if Le'Veon Bell's not an idiot, then they could legitimately take a shot at that 1 seed. But yeah, those are my 6.
Okay, let's go to the NFC 6, and then we'll go back to the AFC and predict the AFC side of the playoffs.
Okay, so my number 1 seed is the New Orleans Saints. My number 2 seed is the Philadelphia Eagles. I did make a switch for here. I have the number 3 seed being the Green Bay Packers, the number 4 seed being the LA Rams, the number 5 seed being the Atlanta Falcons, and the number 6 seed, the Minnesota Vikings. For me, the switch comes down to what I am seeing from this Minnesota Vikings team. I just don't think – I think that they're one of these teams right now that I feel is a little bit overhyped, and I think their talent is a little bit overrated, and I'm not super high on this Green Bay Packer team, to be honest with you. I'm a little concerned with some injuries, but I think at the end of the day, I just think the Vikings are going to find a way to shoot themselves in the foot and not win this division.
Okay, interesting.
All right, so my number 1 through 6 seeds. Number 1, I got the Los Angeles Rams. Confident in that offense, and the defense looks very good as well. Number 2 seed is the Saints. I'm very, very high on this team, especially led by Drew Brees. I think he's going to get it done in the clutch. 3 seed, I've got the Eagles. I've got a little questions about them, but obviously they're still very, very good. I'm not going to question them that much. 4 seed is the Vikings. I think they'll take just a step back, but I'm interested to see how this team goes. My 2 wild cards here, I got the 5th seed is the Falcons. I think that NFC South is going to be very difficult, so the Falcons are going to be the 5th seed, but it should be looked at as someone to look out for in the playoffs. And the 6th seed, I'm going to stick to my guts. I got the Cowboys. I think it'll be a good seed here at the number 6 spot. I don't care if people call me out for it, but I'm going to keep it to it.
Stick to it, Dilly Vanelli. All right. And my 6 teams, as you guys know, Saints, number 1 seed for me. Number 2 seed is the LA Rams. I actually don't think I said in the Rams video, because I had a bunch originally. I had to sort of change it because originally I had like a bunch of NFC teams at 11-5 because I think it's a very strong conference and I think it's going to be very hard to differentiate the teams. So I just put the Rams at 12-4 to make it a little bit of a difference. So I put them at 12-4 to make them the second seed. I think they do have the weakest division out of all the other elite teams, making them easily get to the bye. 3 seed, I did switch originally, like Kev has the Packers. I had the Packers, but I just think the way that the Vikings offense with Kirk Cousins has clicked throughout training camp and preseason has impressed me. And I still do have concerns about the Packers defense and offensive line. So in that regard, I do have the Packers as the 5th seed, the first wild card. The Eagles, the 4th seed. I actually think the Eagles, with the whole Carson Wentz situation, him injured early on in the season, might hurt them a little bit. I do think that they're just take a step back after the Super Bowl victory. And I don't like them the way that I know AC will stand up for his team. I don't like the way they've been running their mouth in the media. I don't like the way that Doug Peterson said stuff about the Jacksonville play calling. I don't like a lot of the things that the Eagles have been doing this offseason. So they're a great, talented team. They will make the playoffs, but I don't like the way that they've been treating the NFL, let's just say, throughout the offseason. And the 6th seed, yes, I have the 49ers as the 6th seed in the playoffs. Jimmy Garoppolo, Kyle Shanahan. I think it's time, and I think it's time. I know their defense isn't the most talented, but I think that offense will be very good, and I think that we'll be able to get them into the playoffs. Yes, that does mean the Atlanta Falcons will not make the playoffs. Go ahead, Mike.
Wow. I personally think the Niners are probably just one more year away, and then look out. This is a team in the future that's going to roll over some people. But I think we're all forgetting that the Philadelphia Eagles were so freaking dominant last year during the regular season. There's periods of time where it seemed like they were untouchable even after the league MVP that should have been, if he didn't get hurt, was injured. So I have the Eagles at 1. I still think this team is the best in football and have to be proven wrong. But I can't see the Eagles not being at least a 12-win team, regardless of when it's playing in week 6 or week 1. This team is just built top to bottom. It's deeper than most in the league. Some of their 2s are better than some of the ones on other teams in the NFL. 2, I got the LA Rams. I might be a little bit higher on them if they paid Donald, or if
they're finding everybody on their team to pay. I think they paid their backup ball boy before they paid Aaron Donald. But anyways,
well, can they even afford Aaron Donald? He wants like $20 million a year.
But the thing is with the Rams is they need to strike while the iron's hot, because those Sue contracts, Talib contracts, maybe even Peters, they could be rentals. So they need to do this.
But if Donald decides to sit the year, then that's going to hurt the team, because he's arguably the best player in football. He is arguably that damn good. He is disruptive. But on the offensive side of the ball, I don't think Jared Goff is as good as some people think he really is. I think Gurley really carries that offense, which is a big deal. He's the best running back in football, and I will reflect that in my awards preview. 3 got the Saints. I think that team is really remarkable. There really isn't a flaw on the team, but I still don't think they're quite as good as the Rams or the Eagles. I think they're close, but this season will really tell how their young players develop into their sophomore year. That's definitely a team to watch. 4, I have the Vikings. I do believe this is one of the best teams in football. It's tough having a first-year QB to be hot and good right away, especially with the receiving core being basically the exact same. You have to develop that chemistry with your playmakers. I think they really started to turn it on around week 4, between week 4 and 6. That team will start clicking. 5, I got the Atlanta Falcons. Are they taking steps back? Yes. I think slowly they're going to regress out of the playoffs, probably even next year. But I still think this roster has enough talent on it. 6, I actually have the Panthers squeaking in again. I think they're just good enough.
So that's the same playoffs as last year, right?
I think it's pretty much identical. Yeah.
Just in the playoffs last year?
Well, it's the same 16
seeds, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Panthers, fair enough. Yeah, I think Panthers were a lot of people's 7 seed. So
I did think my original pick was the Panthers, and then I switched. So,
What's your reasoning for the Panthers?
Okay, my reasoning is that I think their offense can actually take a big step here. McCaffrey and Newton together might be one of the most deadly speed combos in the NFL. It's kind of weird having your size and speed at quarterback and then having this little guy that runs freaking faster than anyone else beside him. Like, it's just incredible pairing. I'm looking forward to seeing them work in their second year together. I still think their defense is – Luke Kuechly is one of the best players in the league. I'm not really concerned about their secondary as much as most people are. I think they are a little bit better than the Packers. Like, it's hard to argue against Aaron Rodgers, but I think the Panthers squeak it out.
Okay, so those are our 6 for both conferences. Let's head back over to the AFC. And let's start off in the wild card round. Dylan, start off with your wild card teams, state your matchups, and then give me your predictions. If you have scores, give me scores.
In the 3 seed, I got the Patriots. In the 6 seed, the Raiders. I think this will be an interesting matchup, but I really don't see the Raiders coming through with a big victory. I got the Patriots winning the game pretty epically. And then the 4 seed Chargers taking on the 5 seed Texans. This is going to be a really interesting matchup because I've been building up the Chargers, but I really like what the Texans offense has, what they're capable of. And it's all the questions about, I think, their defense and all the injuries that are coming back. But if they're as dominant as 2 years ago, I mean, of course, look out for them. I still got the Chargers winning that game, though, which will set up a divisional of the 1 seed Jaguars for the 4 seed Chargers and the 2 seed Steelers taking on the 3 seed Patriots.
Kevole, who's your AFC wildcard matchups?
So the 3rd seed is the Kansas City Chiefs at home to the Tennessee Titans. Sounds familiar. This was last year's matchup. I almost should just predict that the Kansas City Chiefs will jump out to a huge lead, but then blow it by the Tennessee Titans. But that's unfortunately not going to happen. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be a story that we're going to be talking about a lot this year. I'm really looking forward to him and that offense. And I think that the Andy Reid will solve his clock management ways for this game only, and they will defeat the Tennessee Titans. And the other matchup is the Los Angeles Chargers, led by Phillip Rivers, facing Mike's Ben Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Mike, this is what I did last year: is I picked the Tennessee Titans to flatten the Pittsburgh Steelers very badly last year, and they did get flattened in the first round. And I just looked at
3-point game.
They got come on. That was
42 points against the best defense in the league.
Flattening. I just overall look at this Chargers offense versus the Steelers defense, and I think the Steelers, out of my playoff teams, the Steelers D is still the worst out of all of them. I think Rivers is going to take advantage, and I think the LA Chargers are going to walk into cold Pittsburgh and pull off the upset, and they are beating the Pittsburgh Steelers. Don't think there's a lot of concerns in Pittsburgh, man. I'm sorry, especially on that defensive side. There's a lot of problems.
Don't worry, this is what we get from Kevole.
Linebacker.
This isn't new.
Okay. My wild card matchups are the 4 and 5, the exact same matchup as Dylan had. So Chargers versus the Texans. And ultimately, I think that you could see either of these teams represent the conference in the Super Bowl. I'm that high on both teams. But I have to only pick one to go to the next round, and it has to be Chargers. The Chargers are going to get to the AFC divisional round. I think that overall they have a little bit less question marks on the defensive side of the ball and the offensive line. And I think, yes, Deshaun Watson may light up the skies at points in this season, but not against the Chargers, not in LA. So I think the Texans' time may be coming soon, but not this year. And then the other matchup is the classic AFC North matchup, the Pittsburgh Steelers hosting the Baltimore Ravens, which is going to be a hard-fought, grinded-out ball game. But I see the Steelers winning just because they have a little bit more offense and they're at home. So I'm going to go with the Steelers, let's say 24-13 over the Ravens to advance the next round, where the Patriots will play the Chargers and the Jacksonville Jaguars will face the Pittsburgh Steelers again.
Ooh.
Go ahead, Mike.
All right. Well, speaking of those Jacksonville Jaguars, who are my 3 seed, there's been one team last year that handled them in 2 games, and they are playing them again in the first round of the playoffs. That is the Tennessee Titans. They are going to knock off the Jacksonville Jaguars in the first round of the playoffs. I don't think anyone no one even's thinking about this, but the Titans beat them twice, and it wasn't even really close games.
Yeah, they did.
They literally controlled the entire game. I think that's gonna be the same case this year. And then moving over to my other matchup, Chargers-Texans, exactly like Mitch. I'm not really sure. The team's young, but I think the Chargers are really firing here. I'm giving them the win, and they would travel to New England to play the Patriots, where the Titans visit the Steelers in the divisional round.
Oh, that was the 31-3 game from Kevole's last year. Is that gonna work?
Okay, let's go back to Dylan. Dylan, what's your divisional round picks?
Sorry, Kevole. Divisional round. I got the 1st seed Jaguars taking on the 4th seed Chargers, and I'm gonna go with the upset. I got the Chargers beating the Jaguars.
So your 1st seed in the AFC is gonna lose the first game.
1st seed is gonna lose the first game. I mean, I don't think the Jaguars would lose to the Titans, as Mike has put it, but I think against the Chargers, we also saw them struggle deeply against them last year in that one game that they had. If it wasn't for their kicking situation, they might have won it. But the question is are the Chargers going to be able to hit clutch mode and get it done? And I think they will. I've talked about their defense a lot, and I think their offense is very capable. And I think Rivers is I'm freaking done losing every single year when I put in the most effort possible. So I think he is going to get to the AFC Championship. I have the 2 seed Steelers taking on the 3 seed Patriots. These games are always interesting, always exciting. But until I can see a dominant win, I've got the Patriots going on to the AFC Championship game. I think it's just in terms of head-to-head matchup, I think the Steelers could beat the Jaguars or some of these other teams, but I feel like against the Patriots is just their kryptonite. So I got the 4 seed Chargers taking on the 3 seed Patriots in the AFC Championship game.
3 versus 4 seed. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Kevole?
So I have the LA Chargers heading to the Ville to take on the Jags. And I also have the LA Chargers defeating the Jaguars in that round. I think that this is the point that I don't know if this Jags defense is going to be pretty dominant for most of the regular season, but I think that they're going to be figured out as the season goes on. And I just don't look, I like Blake Bortles better than you two, but you still can't win with Blake Bortles. In terms of a quarterback, Phillip Rivers is just miles ahead of Blake Bortles. And I think the Chargers on the road will be relaxed. And they're just going to have Phillip Rivers fun, and they're going into Jacksonville, and they are defeating the Jacksonville Jaguars, which leaves Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs heading to Mitch Maloney's New England Patriots. And Andy Reid, unfortunately, this is where this stops. I feel like in New England, it's a tough place to play. Andy Reid will find some way to mismanage the clock at some point in time, and the New England Patriots will be hosting the AFC Championship game against the Los Angeles Chargers.
I think I know where that's going. Okay, and for me, my matchups are the Patriots versus the Chargers, which, if you remember last year, Kevole, Dilly Vanilli, this was the exact same matchup I had last year. I was wrong, of course, because the Chargers missed the playoffs by one miracle game, even though they probably should end up making it. We all think that they were better than the Bills last year, but it is what it is. This is so hard because, to me, I'm just going to spoil it right now. These are the 2 teams I think will get to the Super Bowl. Whoever wins this game, I think will get to the Super Bowl. And until I see it, it's another one of those things. The Chargers never beat the Patriots. They never have, and I don't know if they ever will. They didn't in 2006. They didn't in 2007. They haven't since. They even blew it last year in a close game. I think the Patriots will just figure out a way against that defense to move the ball down the field. Don't know if they have an answer for the short passing game, and I don't know And I think the Patriots defense will be good enough to beat the Chargers at home. So I think the Patriots will move on to the AFC Championship game. And then on the other side of things, it's the Jaguars versus the Steelers. And to give it to Mike, I actually think the Steelers are going to win this game. I think that Bortles is going to blow it. I'm just going to say that. Bortles is going to blow it. I think the Jaguars are the best team in the league, but they have the worst starting quarterback in the NFL. And when it comes to the playoffs, I think the Steelers have solved a few of their issues on defense, mostly in the secondary. I'm still concerned on if Leonard Fournette and that run game can get going, and if the Steelers can't stop that, then that's going to be tough. And I do think the Jaguars' defense is going to be great once again, obviously. But I just don't think Bortles can do it twice in a lifetime. So I'm going to give it to the Steelers to go to the AFC Championship to play the New England Patriots again. All right, Mike, what's your AFC Championship?
Well, my two matchups are the New England Patriots taking on the LA Chargers, which is still weird to say for me. But again, LA traveling into Foxborough, I never like warm teams going into cold environments. And I don't like the Chargers against the Patriots. So I got the Pats moving on yet again to another freaking AFC Championship. Yay. Just what I want to see. And then my other matchup, Titans-Steelers. Last year, the Steelers seriously dismantled the Tennessee Titans. I don't see them making that many improvements that is going to change that outcome this year. So, like Mitch, the exact same AFC Championship game, Steelers-Patriots, Part 4, I think, in the AFC Championships.
Yep, Part 4. Go ahead, Dylan. Who's the AFC champion this year going to be?
Right, so I have the Chargers versus the Patriots in the AFC Championship game. I think this will be a lot of fun to watch. I know Mitch will be on the edge of his seat. But personally, this is going to feel weird because I had them, I wanted to put the Patriots 11-5 because I thought they were going to take a step down. But I still think they're going to win this AFC.
Wow.
Yeah, I think they're going to be.
I did not see that coming at all.
No, I think the Patriots will win the AFC. I think it goes against matchup. I think maybe if the Jaguars can pull off the victory, they can beat the Patriots, but there's a lot of questions towards that. But in my Chargers-Patriots matchup, you basically brought up the points that I was going to say in the divisional when you had the divisional. The Chargers never beat the Patriots, especially in clutch situations. And until proven so, I just in full conscience couldn't do it. So I got Patriots over the Chargers, but it should be a fun AFC Championship game.
And now Kevol's going to say why the Chargers will beat the Patriots. Go ahead, Kevole.
Well, you all make valid points. You're right. The Chargers just haven't done it. But I just have this feeling about them this year. There's something about this team this year. I think they may get off to a slower start. They're getting a lot of their injury stuff out of the way now, and they may be healthier on the way too. And to me, I'm still overall concerned about the Patriots' talent. And I can't help but wonder if they were a little bit exposed in the Super Bowl. And the thing that I really like about the Chargers, this is Anthony Lynn, Gus Bradley. I do think that they have a really solid coaching staff. And I just think Phillip Rivers is going to be on a run this year. I just think he wants to be in the Super Bowl. And I think so that's why.
Kev, can I ask you a question?
The Patriots, but I'm going with the Chargers in a miracle victory.
Yeah.
Kev, can I ask you a question? Who doesn't want to be in the Super Bowl? Can I ask you that question?
No, that's fair, but there's an opportunity here for Phillip Rivers to. I'm always about legacy stuff, but there's an opportunity for Phillip Rivers to make this is his best opportunity to be in a Super Bowl. The 2009 team, LaDainian Tomlinson was sitting on the undefeated year. LaDainian Tomlinson was on the bench, and Phillip Rivers was hurt. And this is a healthier team. I think that they're going to take advantage of it, but it'll be a really close and fun game.
Well, and to your legacy point, the two quarterbacks that were drafted in the same draft class, Roethlisberger and Eli, have both won Super Bowls, and he hasn't. Yeah. So definitely wants to get that title.
Okay. And the AFC Championship for me is the Patriots and the Steelers once again. And I have the Patriots going to the Super Bowl again. I honestly tried so hard to not have the Patriots in the Super Bowl. I was like, okay, the Jags going to make it. Maybe the Chargers, the Texans, I don't know, and the Steelers. But I just think the Patriots are the best team in the AFC. I can't pick anyone else until I know that somebody's better. And I feel like the Patriots defense is going to be a lot better this year. I think their pass rush is going to be a lot better this year. And I think their offense, hopefully for the first time since 2015, Edelman and Gronk will be playing at the same time in the playoffs when they need them. And I think that's going to be enough no matter what. And you know how Gronk destroys the Steelers. And I think that in this game, you're going to see Ryan Shazier's injury come up. And I think that's going to be the difference. They don't have those linebackers in coverage to be able to get it done against the Patriots. But I think this will be a very exciting game. And I think it will be a higher scoring game. And I think it might ultimately be a heartbreaker for Mike. So I think the Patriots are going to move on to the Super Bowl. Once again, we'll see if they get it done. I'm not sure.
And hard in the first round. Like they can be that way.
Hey, at least they're going to be in the first round at the Seahawks.
You know, I'm not worried.
Okay, Mike. How are the Steelers going to get it done?
I'm going to keep this short and very sweet. They got to win one of these games, one of these damn years. So Steelers over the Patriots in a miracle. Chris Boswell, 78-yard field goal to win the game.
78 yards.
Wait, hold
It's
on.
going to blow everyone's mind.
What happens?
It's going to happen.
What happens if they win Week 15 in the regular season, but then lose in the AFC Championship?
I actually think that's going to happen.
I'm going to be at the game with Mitch, so I will be very happy. But I would probably still cry after the AFC Championship game, because knowing that, no, just tear my heart out.
And just to put that out there, I think that's actually going to happen. But yeah. Okay. So we all have our Super Bowl AFC representative. Now we're going to head over to the NFC. Who's our NFC representative going to be? I feel like it's going to be very different for the AFC. Two of us had the Patriots. One of us had the Chargers. One of us had the Steelers.
Yep.
So for the NFC, let's start off with Dylan. What are your wild card matchups? Who's going to advance to the divisional round?
Okay, so in the wild card, I have the 3-seed Eagles taking on the 6-seed Cowboys. This is where my Cowboys fan can't really go any more than that because I would just look like a hypocrite. So I got the Eagles here. They're just too dominant against the Cowboys.
Give us a score, Dilly.
Let's go 24-14. Let's go 24-14. That'll be the score. And then 4-seed Vikings versus the 5-seed Falcons. I'm really intrigued to see this matchup personally. I think both teams are very, very good. But I have the Vikings moving on. I've got confidence in Kirk Cousins. This is going to be his spotlight, his opportunity. This is why the Vikings brought him in. And the defense, obviously, I think can show it against the Falcons. So I will have the 1-seed Rams taking on the 4-seed Vikings and the 2-seed Saints taking on the 3-seed Eagles.
Okay, Kevole.
So I have the Vikings going to Green Bay, and the Vikings, to Mike's point, although they are in a cold weather city, they play in the dome. And last year in the NFC Championship game, they went to cold Philadelphia, this mighty, powerful defense, and got flattened. I do think Aaron Rodgers is going to flatten the Vikings.
Wow.
The
turnaround on the Packers' opinion has been one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
That's a storyline of the offseason.
You went down on them. You're down on the Packers too, so that's kind of interesting.
But you didn't have them in the playoffs, and then you got to beat the Vikings.
Yeah, don't worry.
I think it was. I just realized I was a little bit too down on the Vikings. I think that's what I realized. Not that I don't like the Packers.
And the other matchup is the Atlanta Falcons heading to the LA to face the Rams, same as last year, and the same result. The Atlanta Falcons are going to beat the LA Rams again. Mike is right. Jared Goff is probably going to be one of the more overrated quarterbacks in the NFL. It's sort of a Blake Bortles situation. I'm not saying as bad as Blake Bortles, but Matt Ryan, like him or not, he is better than Jared Goff, and I just think that Atlanta defense is going to solve the Rams again, and the Falcons are going to find a way to walk into LA and beat the Rams again.
3-6 is the Minnesota Vikings Week 1 matchup.
Oh, the 49ers.
The San Francisco 49ers. And in this game, I'm sorry, but the Vikings, I think, will flatten the 49ers. I actually think this is not going to be a good matchup. Maybe in week 1 they put up more of a fight, but when it comes to the playoffs, I think the 49ers defense will be a little bit exposed. Kirk Cousins will come in. Jimmy won't be able to do enough, and I think Cousins is going to have a very good game with Diggs and Thielen and just light it up. So at home, Vikings will win. They have all that hype, and I think it's really going to just in that first round, it's really going to be big for them. So they're going to win 30-17 over the 49ers. And then in the other matchup, the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Green Bay Packers. This is going to be an awesome game. It might be one of the best games of the playoffs. I think the Philadelphia Eagles will squeak it out, though. I think it will be a high-scoring game. I think this week will show what another team is going to be able to do against the Eagles going into the next round. But I think it's going to be 33-27. Carson Wentz lights up the scoreboard, but Aaron Rodgers puts up a very good fight. It's going to be a close game. So I have the Eagles moving on to play the number 1 seed New Orleans Saints, and I have the LA Rams playing the Minnesota Vikings. Mike.
Okay, well, my matchup, Saints-Panthers. I think the New Orleans Saints are too much for this team. I think they'll beat them both times.
So they're going to beat them like 8 times in 2 years?
Yes.
Basically, yeah. This is just kind of sad to be Brett Gemmell, but the Saints are going to roll the Panthers again. And my other matchup, Vikings-Falcons. I don't have any upsets here. Vikings, I don't see Matt Ryan really being able – well, his receiving core is one of the best in football. The running back tandem, again, one of the best in football. Offensive line, it's not bad, but it's not great. I don't think their defense is remarkable, but I think the Vikings just have kind of like the Eagles of last year. They have a lot of depth. I think the Vikings will just out-depth them and move on to the divisional round.
Okay. All right. Dilly Vanilli.
Yes, sir.
What you got in the divisional round, bro? Who's going to the NFC Championship?
All right, NFC Championship game. I got the 1 seed Rams versus the 4 seed Vikings. Very intrigued by this matchup. Could be a lot of fun to watch, but I got confidence in the Rams. Moving on past the divisional round, they will get to the NFC Championship game. Again, I really like the Vikings have, but I'm very confident what the Rams can bring at this stage. So I got the Rams moving on to the NFC Championship game.
Honestly, shocked by that. I thought you would be a Vikings guy this year.
Well, y'all knew what they, AC wants to credit me as a Vikings fan also. I like to cheer them on, but I like the Rams. I like what they're going to bring here.
Okay. Fair enough.
And then what could have been the NFC Championship game last year, the 2 seed Saints taking on the 3 seed Eagles. I think the Saints are going to win. I'm really high on what the Saints are going to bring to the table. A lot of confidence in Drew Brees making the biggest plays on the biggest stage. He really did well in that Vikings game. And had it not been for the miracle, I think could have done very good in that NFC Championship game, but we'll never know. But in terms of this matchup, I have high expectations for them. So 1 seed Rams versus 2 seed Saints will be my NFC Championship game prediction.
So I have the Green Bay Packers heading to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles, and I'm sorry, this is not going to be much of a matchup. I don't think this is going to be a shootout. This is going to be a blowout. I think the Eagles will blow them out. This is where I struggle with the Packers. I think in terms of talent, they're not close to the Eagles. Unfortunately, I love Aaron Rodgers. Hard to pick against Aaron Rodgers, although just did.
I just did.
But I just think that the Eagles ultimately, by this time, they will be fine in terms of getting everything together. So I think that they'll be winning that. And the other matchup is the Atlanta Falcons heading to New Orleans to face the Saints. I just think the home field advantage in New Orleans and the way this New Orleans team is set up this year. Atlanta really doesn't win in New Orleans much anyway. I mean, I know that Pittsburgh never wins in New England. We don't talk. Atlanta doesn't really do well in New Orleans in big-time situations. I just feel like New Orleans will win that game again. So I have the Eagles and the Saints in the NFC Championship.
Okay, so my NFC divisional round would be the number 2 seed LA Rams taking on the number 3 seed Minnesota Vikings. Both these 2 teams, I think, are very stacked on both sides of the ball. But ultimately, I think it comes down to quarterback play. And I think that Kirk Cousins will outperform Jared Goff. and I think they'll win a tight defensive game. I think both these teams match up very well with each other in terms of defenses versus the offenses. So I think it's going to be like a 23-20 game. And I also think Zimmer is sort of an underrated coach in terms of defensive football, and will be able to figure out what McVay's been doing this entire regular season up till this point. And I think we're going to have to question again the Rams losing the first game in the playoffs for 2 years in a row. So then my other matchup is going to be the number 1 seed, the New Orleans Saints, taking on the number 4 seed, the Philadelphia Eagles. And this game, I think, I'm going to say it right now, I think it's going to be a blowout. I think the Saints are going to blow the Eagles' doors off. Woo! I think Alvin Kamara talking his shit in the offseason, I think that's going to come to the table. It's going to happen. I think that we saw the Eagles' defense, their flaws in the Super Bowl. We're going to see them again against the Packers in the wild card round, and the Saints at home. That's going to be the difference. The Eagles won't have the home field advantage like they did last year, and I think the Saints will be able to take advantage of that. I also think the Saints' defense is better than people think, so I think that the Saints will win this game and win it pretty handily, actually, surprisingly. So then the NFC Championship game will be the New Orleans Saints in a rematch versus the Minnesota Vikings. Mike.
Wow, okay. So my first matchup, Minnesota Vikings, Philadelphia Eagles. Here is where things start to get a little iffy. I think this would be a battle of a game, but again, the Eagles will be moving on to the NFC Championship. I think Carson Wentz just, at this point, he'll be back. I'd love to see what he can do in the playoffs. He's one of the NFL's top up-and-coming players, and I'm just looking forward to seeing what he can do in a full season. I know this year it's still in doubt, but I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to be able to do. In the playoffs, I think that team can still make some noise. The Vikings, I think this is kind of their ceiling. There's a couple teams that I think that are better, and I think this is where their season ends. And then in my other matchup, I got the LA Rams taking on the New Orleans Saints. And much like Mitch, I got the Saints blowing the doors off the LA Rams. It's just too much to handle from that Saints offense and their defense. Honestly, both sides of the ball are really coming together. I'm excited to see what this team can do with a veteran quarterback, a young, hungry offensive line, an amazing running back tandem. I think this team is one to be reckoned with. I would be scared if I'm going up against this team in the playoffs. Saints, Eagles, NFC Championship.
That's the same as Kevole, correct?
Yep.
Ooh.
Well, we have one team that's all in the NFC Championship game, just a little marry.
Yeah, okay, Dylan. I hope we're not all picking the same team. Dylan.
All right, so I have the 1 seed Rams versus the 2 seed Saints. Going in on the Saints. Saints are my NFC pick to win the NFC this year. I'm very high, like I said, on that offense. Kamara is an absolute beast. Ingram's only going to be gone for 4 games, so that duo, it will be right back to where they started once he gets back. The defense got so much better than the seasons before, where Drew Brees had to throw for 4,500 yards and had a 7-9 record. That's awful. They finally got something behind him, and they're really, really solid. I think the Saints will win. Good matchup. There you go.
So I also have the Eagles versus the Saints, and I'm sorry, Mitch. You're going to be disappointed because I also have the Saints, and I also think I do agree. I think
who's reading my notes?
No, I have
your notes. We all have opinions.
I agree with you. I think the Eagles have been smack talking a little bit too much about the season. I think that their health is a concern. And I think when you're in New Orleans, I think New Orleans is one of the best home field advantages in football right now. Tough place to play. Drew Brees has an opportunity to go back to the Super Bowl. And Sean Payton, has made some adjustments and put this team in a much more complete situation. I will always kind of wonder what would happen if New Orleans would have won that game against Philadelphia. We'll never know, but we will know this year in New Orleans.
You mean Minnesota, right?
Them out.
Okay. And because everybody's reading my notes, I have the
Well, there
Saints
we go.
going to the Super Bowl as well, beating the Vikings in the rematch. They will get their revenge. I think it will be a semi-high scoring 28-20 sort of game. I think that Breeze and Sean Payton, you saw how they kind of figured out the Vikings defense in the second half of last year's NFC divisional game. And I think that's going to come up in this matchup. And yes, I like the Vikings, but I think in this game, you'll also see sort of their flaws on the offensive line come to, and that's the one biggest thing I'm sort of worried about for the Vikings. But I think New Orleans will advance to the Super Bowl like everybody else seems to think. Mike, are you also on the Saints bandwagon?
I am going to throw a curveball in this. I am picking the Saints to go to the Super Bowl.
You bastard.
Literally, I've had this written down from the start. That's too good. No, but honestly, this is the year where Drew Brees gets a second ring. Oh, was that a spoiler? But he is.
Bro, are you reading my notes?
The Saints they're young, they're hungry, they are incredible. I'm not. I can't pick against them. I can't pick a team to beat them, top to bottom. So good. Their secondary is amazing. Their running back core, great. Young offensive line again. Drew Brees is still one of the best quarterbacks in football. Amazing coaching staff. This is a team. Their D-line, their linebackers. Like, I can't say enough good things about the Saints. The Saints are going to the Super Bowl.
And winning, according to you, right? Against your Steelers, right?
Yes. A pick against my own,
what's the score going to be?
Against the Steelers?
Yeah.
Or in the Super Bowl, I think the Saints will actually dust the Steelers. I think Kamara could have like a 200-yard rushing game. Or Ingram, like combined, there could be like 200 yards rushing. I think this game could be like 38-14. Like, I honestly, it's not a good matchup against the Steelers. They play the Saints this year. I'm not looking forward to that game. I think the Saints could really batter the Steelers. Like, I just can't see it.
Okay. And Kevole has the Rivers versus Breeze.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Oh.
Hashtag storyline, baby.
Who's a wrestling fan here? Okay. Dilly Vanilli.
Yeah.
Who's going to win the Super Bowl, bro?
All right, so I got Patriots. I got Saints. Brady versus Breeze, one of those QB matchups that I always like. The winner will be the New Orleans Saints. I feel weird because every single year against the Patriots. But I got the Saints winning this one. Like Mike said, I'm very high on just the caliber of that offense. I mean, let's not forget Michael Thomas is absolutely dominant in the first 2 years of his career. He's going to do even better in year 3. And just the things that are built around, they're going to do it again this year. They're going to do it this year. Breeze will get his second Super Bowl ring and will beat the Patriots.
So this is where I'm going to go bold prediction. This will be the highest scoring game in Super Bowl history.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Shootout.
Chargers and Saints?
Chargers and Saints. Both of these offenses are going to be fun to watch. But ultimately, the New Orleans Saints will have the ball last. And Drew Brees will toss the touchdown pass to Michael Thomas. And they will win the Super Bowl.
Oh, my God. We're all picking the same team.
We're all picking them.
I have the
We're all on the
I've had
Saints.
this team for a long time. If anybody's been watching this channel,
We never
if
agree.
you've been paying attention, I've had the Saints for a while. And I just think, like Mike said it perfectly. I think the team's stacked. I think they're just a better version of the Patriots. They have a little bit better defense. Their offense is a little bit better. And I think this game will be epic, just like last year. I think it will be like 34-30 or something like that. But I think the Saints will end up winning because I think they have one guy that the Patriots do not, and that is a true big-time difference maker on the defensive line, Cameron Jordan. So I think Cameron Jordan will make the big play of the game against the Patriots, and that's going to be the difference. And I do have to ask Kevole the question. Oh, my Super Bowl MVP is Drew Brees. I think he'll have a great game. But my question to Kevole is, You had Sean Payton on the hot seat before last year. How do you feel about naming the Saints your prediction to win the Super Bowl?
Well, you know what happened, as mentioned, is Sean Payton actually phoned me and said, "Oh man, Kevin, you're right. What I need to do is get rid of Adrian Peterson and use Alvin Kamara more, don't I?" And I said, "Yes, you do." And he did. And I also said, "You need to play a better bit like some defense here, dude. Come on, dude, defense." And he said, "Yes, you're right." And he did that too. But yeah,
if you only can get the Seahawks on the phone, that would help them a lot.
What's that?
I said, if only you can get the Seahawks on the phone, that'll.
Hey, they are going to punch with excellence this year. Hey, look, they're the best team. They're the best team right now. In my opinion, they're stacked. They're well-rounded. I think one of the things that I think that we don't appreciate much about Sean Payton is that, and even Dylan mentioned it, this was a 7-9 team went to 4,000 yards passing. Sean Payton adjusted his game around to realize what they needed to do to win, that it wasn't just about throwing the football, but it was about complementary football. And I think some credit should be given to him for doing that and making those adjustments. And Dennis Allen as a defensive coordinator is very underrated. He does a good job. He puts his people in the right place. And yeah, I just think, look, and they have the best home field advantage right now in the NFL. It's hard to win in New Orleans. That place is going to be so loud and crazy and nuts. And it's going to be, especially if they have a home field, no one can go in there and win in New Orleans. That's the problem.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, I mean, when we're talking about the talent, a lot of people are going to question this because the Saints aren't even in the top 5 for Super Bowl odds, which is very head-scratching. But, I mean, when you look at – they have everything. They have a great head coach who, in my opinion, is the best offensive coach of the last 20 years. They have a Hall of Fame quarterback. They have a top 5 receiver core. They have a top 5 offensive line. They have a top 5 running game. They have a defensive line that's kind of sneaky good. They have one of the best defensive players in the NFL. They have a pretty deep defensive line. They improved their linebacking core, which was their biggest weakness, by adding a legitimate middle linebacker in Demario Davis. They have a shutdown corner in Marshawn Lattimore, and they have a decent secondary around him. And they just and they got kind of, I mean, they got unlucky last year, and that's usually what happens. Is one year maybe a team gets a little unlucky, and then the next year they sort of things fall their way and they get it done. So I think that's what we all see in the Saints, and that's why they are our Super Bowl champions collectively. We didn't discuss this beforehand, or maybe I would have changed my pick. But the Saints.
One more thing I do want to mention, though, too, about what happened. That whole situation with the Miracle last year, and I think how the Saints handled that as well. They didn't throw anybody under the bus. They just said, okay, you know what? It was a terrible play. They stuck behind the guy. They didn't embarrass him. To me, that was like a sign of good professionalism. It's like, they're going to be back. They're going to be okay. Because that would have torn a lot of teams back. But I think the way that they handled that, I think, kudos to them for that too.
All right. On that note, I hope you guys enjoyed our season-long full NFL predictions from Mitch, Mike, Kevole, and Dilly Vanilli. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hit the like button and subscribe for more Bottom Line View. Peace.